Okay, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to start the discussion. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm Kaser Rafiq. I'm the host of the discussion for today. I'm so delighted this afternoon to be here live at Zoom. The overall purpose of the discussion is to expand the scope of disaster, which is happening right now in Pakistan, and then to look at the level and the magnitude of destruction all across the country. In addition to that, we would like to understand the role of humanitarian actors and their current challenges for being not active as frontline responders. We would also like to dive into current humanitarian appeal and how this will cover the magnitude of destruction, which is at the large scale in different provinces. And at the end of the discussion, I would request to all panel members to provide some productive suggestions and recommendations to local administration and humanitarian actors to effectively manage the disaster and to effectively manage the disaster now and in future. I'm very looking forward to have a panel discussion with three amazing guests who are currently contributing very positively in their respective countries, I would say, especially in the lives of women, girls, and youth at large. In fact, I will not feel hesitant to say they are the wave of the future. Just to let you know, all of our panel members are dynamic leaders, and we are very lucky to have them. Moving forward, I would like to introduce panel members. Our first panel member is a woman leader who is an assistant director at Benazir Income Support Program. That is the largest single social safety net program and federal unconditional cash transfer poverty reduction program in Pakistan. Please welcome Mr. Amreen Gula Abro. Our next panel member is, thank you. Our next panel member is a philanthropist, Pakistani philanthropist, and he took part in different natural and man-made disasters in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Currently, he is the country director at Polish Humanitarian Action, based in Iraq. Please welcome Mr. Mansoor Ahmad.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Our third member is a young humanitarian gentleman who has more than like decade experience in managing emergencies in different volatile and complex environments. He is currently serving at Oxfam as Global Convener for Rights, Resilience, and Response. Please warmly welcome Mr. Amjad Ali.
Thank you, Kaser.
Of course, you're most welcome. I'm so delighted to have all of you with us, and again, very welcome to you. I'm looking forward to have a wonderful and interesting conversation with everybody, and then we can understand your perspective, how to effectively manage the current flash flood emergency response in Pakistan. I believe like everybody is quite aware with current flash flooding emergency situation in Pakistan and the vacuum of destruction, especially, which is quite huge all across the country due to recent flooding. But unfortunately, I cannot see the magnitude of expected response on the ground. Mansoor, sir, would you please highlight some key aspects why there is not enough humanitarian response in place until this moment?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and thank you, Kaser Sahab, for having me in today's discussion on flood emergency in our lovely country. So basically, if we look into the details of this question, like why not that much response, which should have been on the ground by now. So first, as we have been responding such emergencies in many countries around the world, but if we see this flood in Pakistan now, so its magnitude is huge. You see, like out of 160 districts and country, almost 80s are declared calamity districts by the government. So it doesn't mean all other districts which are not emergency declared are not affected. They're affected as well, but the government has its indicators to declare emergencies for some areas, which almost half of the country is is emergency declared in this flood. Around 33, as per the details collected mostly by NDMA and PDMAs in different provinces, says like 33 million people are affected. I would say, even if we look into the details of data collection processes in those government and institutions in Pakistan, we are pretty much sure that the actual number of people affected is much more than what government figures are saying. On the other end, you see this flood is not only like affected people on ground, but also disturbed the connectivity. Like government figures again says like around 3,500 kilometers of road networks are destroyed, which mean like even if a single kilometer or even a few meters of road destruction mean disconnect of some areas with other part of the country. And other than this, like around 49 to 50 bridges are damaged, are destroyed. So you see, like in this level of devastations, where almost every corner of country is affected, where these people are living, and many of them, like many thousands of them, are in under the water still, and they are not being accessed by humanitarian actors or the government departments or MDMAs or PDMA to respond to the emergency. So this is something which shows like the connectivity of those to those people who are affected is very difficult in the context, and it is not a single area where like you use a couple of helicopters and you provide this emergency relief to those people. It's the country as a whole, one should say. Every corner of it, there are effects there. So the resources of accessing in such a situation are the strength and capacity of those institutions to access in such a situation. As in our front, we know like how effective those institutions are, and how equipped and how ready and trained we are in all those processes. So that's a reason. There's a like few reasons why which due to which like we see the emergency response is not to the scale it should have been by now. Secondly, I think the level of assessment, if we see like government and institution, especially NDMA using its PDMAs, are supposed to assess the devastations and the level and the people who are in need of humanitarian assistance and relief. So how they conduct basically the assessments, we all know, like the process of conducting assessment is basically like using the government available sources. For example, NDMA or PDMAs, NDMAs having PDMAs at provincial level, and PDMAs are having provincial directors or district directors or assistant directors at district levels. So, but those are like, if not a single person staff, but maybe a couple of people in office. If you see the districts in Pakistan and their access, it's not easy to assess those. What they do, they simply like issue a letter from the district deputy commissioner office saying like, okay, can you please let us know the problems are the level of flood effectees in your union councils, for example, or taluka councils. And that's how we collect the information. And that information which comes back to district office are really, and most of the time, are not the real data. which is not the actual case in many cases, not the actual numbers. Because if a union council secretary, for example, get a letter or something like this, then he is the person who sits in his office or home to fill a form and send it back. Like, okay, this in most cases, those are exaggerated for some reasons. For, let's say, union council secretary families or his own damages, and for many others it's not are not reflected in that data. So if you don't have this level of data, like we are actually the need and what are the needs and on the ground, then the response itself will be opposite. Like it will be moving here and there, and like few helicopters throwing ration bags and boxes from the air, and then like that's how we will respond. A third problem is like this time you see like we have already experienced earthquake in 2005 in Pakistan, and then 2010, and a minor flood again in 2011 in Pakistan. Like you said, there was a number of humanitarian actors under the coordination of UN Office for Coordination, which is supposed to coordinate humanitarian response globally. So in such a case, they come in and they will take over the coordination process. They establish clusters. They coordinate with different humanitarian actors, with government departments and all. But this time, the government of Pakistan decided to take control of this coordination mechanism. And now this coordination mechanism is a multi-tier. Like they have, for example, the OCHA, or the humanitarian coordinator, a resident coordinator in Pakistan, is co-chairing the strategic coordination forum or coordination committee or council with the NDMA chairperson or chairman of NDMA. And then there are like there is a Prime Minister Relief Committee, which is its own coordination mechanism and supposed to see the coordination of response, flood response, emergency response at the top level. Then you come down, like mostly this this immediate relief services are taken over by Benazir Income Support Program. Ms. Amreen can tell us more about it and how it is working. But to me, they have their own system, and they are using again the government database for the beneficiaries, and they possibly they see like which districts are affected and which part of it, for example, and they collect data from that part, and they have their own beneficiaries already registered. Now registering those people which are not already registered, but they are affected, like very much affected by this flood emergency, is also a challenge for BIS. I assume, and I think it is the case, because if the accessibility is the problem, if the infrastructure is damaged, the road network is damaged, also the offices of Benazir Income Support Program and those people are also not accessing properly, are not able to access those people in the areas as they are supposed to be in such a emergency case. So for all those reasons, the coordinations, the huge devastated flooding all around or every corner of Pakistan, and then the coordination level, the accessibility, and then like a secondary role of UN and the humanitarian organization, especially in this response, is something which is really affecting, and like we as a country, or we as a we as our institution, for example, NDMA or PDMAs, we think like, okay, we formed this organization, and if a humanitarian organization can do it, why we cannot? But the humanitarian response itself is its parameters, it's the protections of beneficiaries, it's protocols, the humanitarian standards, and all those things, and the taking care of dignity of those who are being helped with the humanitarian response. You see, like we can see on social media every day, like people are fighting for a bag of ration. People are fighting with each other for something, or in some cases they are throwing those NFIs or rations toward people, and they, you see, like all this is, I would say, is mismanaged, because those who are supposed to manage it or said they will manage it are actually have no capacity and understanding and training of humanitarian response. And then again, the level of emergency is huge. So
Exactly.
I think these are the reasons.
Yeah, you touch base with a lot of topics, actually, which is quite interesting. But thank you very much for sharing your feedback. And we will again touch with such specific parameters a little bit later on during the discussion. But I'm just trying to understand from Ms. Amreen, I'm quite aware that you are currently engaged in humanitarian efforts in Sindh province specifically. And I would like to understand that how is the overall emergency efforts of or emergency response of Benazir Income Support Program, especially in Sindh province, because that is the most affected region at this moment.
Okay, first of all, I want to discuss. Basically, we have a proper database which is called National Socioeconomic Registry, in which we have to cover 100% population for registration. It's not that only poor can be registered through this process and other cannot be. So we have a, I would say, most authentic database with the support of NADRA, and our beneficiaries are selected through that process. So currently, the cutoff point is for 0 to 32%, for which we have a lot of more than like we are supporting. Currently, we are working in Prime Minister Relief Fund, and around 1 million beneficiaries. By beneficiaries, I mean household has been supported by 25,000 cash support to each household. So we are working on ground. We are dealing these issues and looking these cases on daily basis, and which are really severe. And my team is working on the ground from last 3 weeks without any holiday or weekend, and situation is very worse on ground.
I can absolutely understand, and thank you very much, Amreen, for sharing your efforts at this, what you're doing in Sindh province. Amjad, I know that you're quite familiar and aware about the destruction, which is quite huge, especially for human loss and major infrastructure at this moment. Where do you see the negligence, and why our institutions are not learning from episodes of natural disasters like what we have in past as well?
Yeah, thank you, Kaiser, for organizing this. And I think before jumping there, I think it's not just the fault of institution. Definitely more preparedness, more resilience, more disaster risk reduction related work is needed. And that was the learning even after 2010. And I think we were not able to deliver on those commitments, right? However, it's not Pakistan alone. I think most importantly, this type of flooding, it is related to climate change. And I think the world need to learn. And most importantly, the people who are suffering and who are being impacted now, they are the poorest people. They hardly contribute, though Pakistan is contributing less than 1% to the global emission and to the climate change. Though in terms of population, we are in the top 10, still the contribution from Pakistan is very less. And then further, these poor people, they hardly contribute anything. to this summation, but they are being impacted. Now, what I see, the negligence from the world is not recognizing that this climate change related impacts, negative impacts are happening right now. It's no more a future conversation. It's the conversation to deal it now, right? Even if we talk about the net zero and all those sort of commitment which are happening, still these crises will keep coming. So I think the first thing where I see, and I really want to strongly advocate to the international community, it's not the charity, it's actually their commitment. And I think they polluted this whole environment, and they should come forward and support these people. And I think it's not just I'm talking from Pakistan. I think the same is happening in Africa, where there is significant drought, and that is again linked to the climate change. So the international community should come forward and put their share. I think that's the one thing. The other issues right now in Pakistan, even if you see how the patterns are changing. In 2010, why that was the bigger flooding? Usually the rain happens, say, in Kashmir part of the area and some of those area, and then it goes to the riverine, flooding going down to the Punjab and Sindh. But in 2010, the impact of rain on specific area, they shifted almost 65 kilometers from one location to another. What happened that rain happened in the new location, and that like that new location, the new areas impacted, and then that gone down to the different rivers and impacted quite a lot. This time it happened a little bit different again. So that's why how you can prepare and how you can deal with the nature. I think it is very much important to understand how the nature keep deceiving us. Uh, this time it is more of a rain-fed flooding first, like in Sin. Quite a lot of rain happened, and so the flooding which started, which was rain-fed, and later on the rain shifted to the northern part, and then the river started getting those flooding. And even in most of the northern area, like the in Kepi province in Pakistan, it's because of that rain flood even started after the UN appeal. And now that water is going into Sindh, which mean the Sindh will have more flooding, right? Same in Balochistan. I think Balochistan never had that sort of rain before. Like the whole Balochistan was in flooding. It is a hilly area, but the type of rain shift actually contributed quite a lot. So I think that we need to understand. And before that, if you go to like June situation, in April, somewhere April, May, June, the quite a lot of focus was it's drought, and then and based on that drought and other food insecurity issues, the IPC analysis, which is usually food security organization along with government, they publish, which confirm that almost 4.6 million people are impacted, and they need that food assistance already even before this flooding. So that was due to drought. And from the food security global hunger index, Pakistan is ranked in 92 out of 116 countries. We are even less than Ethiopia. So just imagine where we are, though maybe Ethiopia now with the new drought has different issues. So I think first we analyze and understand that and do a proper advocacy at a different level for the international community. Then coming to our own, climate change ministries, we form the ministry, but how much resource this ministry has, how much resource other, organization has, and we are not learning. I was reading a report of 2010 floods, and once I was reading the lesson learned, it looked to me like we are reading almost the same thing. Same talks about the institutional arrangements, same talk about, the coordination among different institutions, different line departments, same talk about more work on the resilience, same talk about the disaster risk reduction. So I think moving into these issues, we need to realize how actually we put our preparedness. Even after COVID, I don't know how much we learned, whether we were prepared. Everybody was confirming the drought is coming, sorry, this flood is coming, but we were not prepared at that scale. So I think the preparedness at the national, provincial, and other level. The other issue is coordination. I think I don't want to go political, but I think there should be a little bit more coordination with among provincial and the national level institution, and we should set aside the politics aside at particularly in the crisis, and work collaboratively. The other issue was international humanitarian community. I think, as Mansoor shared, I think in last 7 years, quite a lot of international actors are out. Even the national actors, the national NGOs, sort of screwed in a way that they are died quite a lot, in this process. And even I don't see enough capacity from the UN organization like the OCHA for this response plans. I think it could have been far, far, far better. And this response plan is not even addressing 10% of the magnitude of like 160 million. It should have been more than 1.6 billion plus of an appeal. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Amjad. I'm getting back to Mansoor Saab for a very short response. Actually, we have remaining 8 minutes, and we need to touch base with a couple of questions. Mansoor Saab, do you think we have enough planning and resource management of natural disasters in place at this moment in Pakistan?
For a huge flood, you allocated a very little time, so so we have to squeeze whatever we want to save. I think no, because like this is something which we know, like, and it is in front of us. Like we from the earthquake in 2005, we saw what happened to the building, to the apartment which fell down, and what was the preparedness. And even now, like in the big cities, like Karachi, it's daily happening. When a building comes down, then you see like people are helping each other. You cannot see like a proper movement of those institutions and departments coming in an organized way with the equipment to do. Like people are using those cutters, ordinary cutters, to cut and get people out of debris, and like we are not prepared at all. Like we know we are not prepared, and we don't have that resources. We don't have those trainings. We don't have our presence everywhere. Like in rural areas or small cities, almost everywhere, those are people helping themselves. And they cannot wait. And if they wait, then there will be no response. But even in big cities, they're like people start helping, and it is still the case, unfortunately. After the earthquake and then the flood of 2010, then now you see like people are helping each other with a roof or something to rescue people from water and this flood, for example. And people like fathers are searching for their daughters and sons, their children from the flood water. So this is how it is happening. We are not prepared, and we will be further like in a bad situation after this huge destruction of flood.
Absolutely true. It seems like people are more resilient than different institutions within the country.
People have to, because there's no other option. People definitely will do something.
Absolutely true. Amreen, I'm quite aware that you are a part of BISP at this moment, which is a huge social safety net program in Pakistan. And what do you think, like, what are the current challenges for the humanitarian community to effectively respond to this flash flooding response?
First of all, I would like to suggest a comment that it's not time to prepare anything for anything new. It's just time to respond and use already available resources, already available database from which you can use to support or help the community. Like we have tehsil level offices, we have reached to the maximum community. So, and even our staff is available at town level. So, and the other thing I must say that civil society, development sector, and government, everybody should be on the same page for the help of the community. Because if we work on different level, there are chances that, for example, we are supporting one district, everyone is supporting only one district, and extra support is given to that particular district, but another district is neglected. So it's the time to work together, either civil society, development sector, and government, everything.
True. True, absolutely true. And Amreen, what do you think? Because I'm always thinking during those natural disasters and conflicts that women and girls are always at the doorstep of violence in disasters like floods. And what do you think how humanitarian actors can effectively respond to the needs of this targeted group specifically?
I'm just studying a study yesterday, day after, that 73,000 women are due to deliver their babies next month, and they are on road. They don't have any support on this emergency, and they don't have even food to eat, and how they will survive this situation the next month, which already they are due. So this is extreme level of disappointment to see such situation. So I think everyone should come forward to help these, especially the children which will come in this time period. How will he survive this flood? He's not ready for this flood or emergency, and these women, these children cannot wait. The flood is over, and then they could come later. So it's important to work these activities, I believe.
True, absolutely true. And Amjad, actually, your background is more towards response and resilient communities. What do you think? How we can build like more resilient communities? I believe like we need to learn from this disaster, at least at this moment. So keeping in view this disaster, how we can like build more resilient communities and to cope up with this situation in future.
Thank you, Kesar. I think it is important not to see, particularly from the government planning or other institutional level planning, to see only response in isolation. I think we need to come up with the comprehensive plan. That's the first thing, to have not only response but adding the developmental and resilience programming. Well, it's across infrastructure. It's across at the community level, where community are the first responder also. So how to build back better for the for the community or at the higher level. And then I think the other aspects of development which are ignored, even some of the research or innovation which are being ignored and not being done, like from the government or institution, enough of the investment to come up with the new type of varieties which are drought resistance, which are flood resistance, where we can have more crops, and even something new for the livelihoods of the people, particularly connected with the livestock. Fine, I think these measures need quite a lot of coordination and quite a lot of additional and new type of investment from government and other institutions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Amjad. Time is short, actually. Next time when we're gonna organize the second episode of this Pakistan Response Appeal, then I will make sure to have like more time specifically for this discussion. But for the time being, I think I tried my best to touch, and very thankful to everybody that you shared your feedback based on your own experience. Although some of you are not in the country, I just arrived back to the country, but I really appreciated your feedback. And as soon as like we're gonna organize the second round of the discussion, then I will get back to you guys, and then next time I will give you more time. But for this time, I really thankful to everybody, and I really appreciated your time for this discussion.
Thank you.